call the Marine Commission meeting to get to order. Approve the minutes for last meeting. Did everybody have a chance to look at that? Well, I read it at the house. So
Move that they be approved.
Second.
the minutes are approved. Let's see. Public comment. Do we have any? Keith? Yeah.
Can I reserve my comments until the marina section of the meeting, Mr. Chairman?
Sure. Okay. Old business update on the Vero Beach Rowing Club. They did have a meeting with the City Council last month, and they got an unanimous approval for to start the building. They are a little bit underfunded right now, but it should come in. Oh, Jim's here. Good. We weren't sure if you were going to show up in shorts and a Hawaiian shirt or not.
That's about 3 weeks.
Okay. All right.
Did you do the roll call?
Oh, yeah, I guess we should. I kind of walked all over you.
That's okay.
Sorry about that. Now, I was waiting for Brian.
Okay, I got you.
Appreciate that, Bob. Thank you. Apologize for being a little late.
Mr. Troutman?
Here.
Mr. Johnson? Mr. Walker? Mr. Lanier?
Here.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yeah.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
And Chairman Snyder.
Here.
All right. We just went over the Vero Beach Rowing. Is Tim coming? Does anybody know?
I did not hear from him.
I've not talked to him this morning.
Okay.
Just presumed he would be here.
Yeah, I usually don't have to ask him. He's usually
We'll go over it. Maybe he's just running a little late.
By the way, I heard a rumor that they were very close to breaking ground over for the rowing club. Are they waiting for the rest of the funding?
Well, they're about, from what I understand, they're about 200,000 short. They don't anticipate having a problem raising that, and they're waiting for the permits to clear. So they're in the process. So, yeah. All right. Identify unidentified objects in the water near the marina. Anybody got any more input on that? I rode yesterday morning and they were still out there, and that guy's boat is still across the river.
And then we have the other boat south of the 17th Street Bridge. It was up on an island aground after a good blow a few weeks ago, and now it's floating back again just south of Fairlane Harbor. And at least one or two tender dinghies attached to it, and they're definitely living aboard there. So I would imagine we got a pump out issue on our hands there.
Yeah. All right. I guess what's the secretary or the
That's been
attorney?
there about 3 months, too.
Yeah, they've been there for a while.
Yeah.
It was aground for a couple of weeks. I mean, hard aground, lean over on its side.
Yeah.
And then they floated it off on a high tide, and they're definitely living on it.
Well, I've gone over and gone around it a couple of times just to see what's going on, and because
You ever seen anybody aboard?
Never seen anyone coming or going, but yeah, there was one tender and now there's two.
Yeah.
A red one, isn't it?
Yep, it's the one I saw.
Yeah.
Yep. On the pump out issue, it'll be interesting to hear what Tim has to say about that. Well, a couple months ago, he talked about it, and I think he had Fish and Wildlife and some other people periodically check on them. So I hope they're still doing that. I go by in the sheriff's boat, and we continue to have the same boats there all the time. They've been here for like ever.
Now that we have a functioning pump out facility, both on the pump out boat and on the dock, there really are no excuses now.
Yep.
I hate to say there was an excuse before, but we were how many months and months without a pump out on that dock?
You all get copies of the weekly reports on the number of pump outs?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's up, so that's why I say that there's an indication that maybe people are using it now that they can rely on it. I would always call before I went over, and 9 times out of 10, it wasn't working.
But it is.
And I think
Yeah.
the pump out service has been refurbished, so it's
Oh, it's,
ready to go. It's going, I mean.
yeah, it'll turn your boat inside out if you're not careful. It's got some power.
All right. Well, maybe I can reach out to the Coast Guard about these boats and see if there's anything they can do, put some pressure on them or something. All right. Anybody else got anything on that?
Do we have, either in the city or county, the sheriff or a police boat? I mean, independent of the Florida Commission boat?
Yes, we have.
Do we have authority to inspect?
We have a police boat, but we don't have the authority to enforce the maritime laws. I think that comes under the state. But we do, if there's crimes and that kind of stuff is what our boats for, or safety. But we don't have anyone that would go aboard a boat, for an example.
Thank you. I think I can make a comment on that. I believe there's an issue of probable cause.
You ask him to
The
come up to
Coast
the
Guard can
microphone,
board
please.
at their will.
Can you use some, like...
I should probably go to the microphone.
And address yourself.
Sorry about
I don't want to get Jim fired. From the reading I've done, I believe there's an issue of probable cause. The Coast Guard, I think 2 people here can confirm, can board at will without probable cause. They can make an inspection. And I've been boarded more than once for an inspection. I think some of the state agencies need probable cause to board and inspect. It's not at will. So my question is, if anybody's prepared to do the work, if we have records of the pump outs, and we know a boat's been there for 3 months, let's say, and lived aboard in the back cove or in the South Anchorage, and they're not on record of having a pump out, is that probable cause? So you can board then, the sheriff can board. The volunteers, you cannot board, you can cite but not board. The sheriff's boat can board. If there's probable cause, I believe. Just a thought.
I wonder if a record is kept by boat name or boat owner's name at every pump out.
I don't know.
I have a feeling not, so that would perhaps negate.
Keith, where...
But there certainly are enforcement issues, not just for that boat, for the boats in the North Anchorage and the little creek there that are anchored outside the mooring field.
Yeah. Where did you read that information?
I forget. I can find it again probably.
Yeah, if you do.
I started doing some work on enforcement, then this new group came along, the New Lagoon Group, and they're going to have an enforcement subcommittee, which I've applied to join, so maybe that's an avenue, but their real thrust is going to be, I think, to do with the no discharge zone. I think that's not the right way to go personally. I think the way to go is enforcement, because if you can't enforce for type 1 and type 2 MSDs, then you can't enforce for type 3. So why extend the prohibition if you can't enforce the laws that you have, for what it's worth?
Can I just add, just to back up here,
Sure.
give you a little history. I was a Coast Guard law enforcement officer, so he's absolutely right. We can board, or the Coast Guard can board these vessels. Jurisdiction plays a little bit of a role in this. I'm not totally positive where the location of this boat you're talking about is, so I don't want to say anything about that. If it's anywhere in a navigable channel, though, yeah, we can get on it, or the Coast Guard can get on it.
Pretty far off the channel.
Yeah, so that may be the only thing for the Coast Guard to deal with, but absolutely, the Coast Guard can go on, do a safety check. They can be looking at their overflow valves and make sure that things are turned off, so that they're not pumping overboard. And if they've been sitting there and their tanks aren't completely full, then they're making some calls.
I attended a seminar down south of here as a part of the Power Squadron thing, and the Coast Guard came in and told us that all it takes is, if they take a look at the registration sticker, if they have one on top of another, and they can see the difference in color, they have probable cause. They can go in. So it's a tiny little thing that they need to do. So I'm hoping they will come. I'm hoping that Tim really does have some statistics for us or something, you know.
Has anyone ever seen the Coast Guard north of the inlet? Because I haven't. Has anyone ever seen the Coast Guard north of the inlet?
Just the
Yes.
aids to navigations.
Yeah, not the patrol though.
But usually passing through doing about 50.
Right, so,
That would be something definitely to call the CO of the base in Fort Pierce about. As a commissioner of the Marine Board, that would hold some weight, I would
I'll
think.
take a ride down there and
Yeah.
to Fort Pierce and talk to them about it.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want me to send a text to Tim to see if he plans to come? I can do that.
You
Okay.
could.
Okay. Christmas boat parade.
Well, it was, Mother Nature was on our side. We had 26 signups. I think it went pretty smooth. No real issues, great turnout, we got some great press out of it. Being part of a combo of a Christmas boat parade and a centennial event, I think worked really well. Like I said, we had a lot of good feedback, great attendance. The weather was fantastic. Nobody got in trouble. Nobody ran aground. The only incident, and Tim's not here to comment on it, there was a liveaboard at the city marina that decided when everybody was watching the boats go by the reviewing stand, they would help themselves to the food and whatever else was right behind the judges. And they got the guy on video stealing, and he knew he was doing it. He was kind of looking over his shoulder as he was walking away with the goodies. All Tim would tell me was he was a resident at the city marina, and he would have a word with him. And I haven't seen Tim since that conversation. But it was certainly a success, and look forward to doing it again next year.
Yeah, it's always fun.
It really is just a great night on the water. As I said, we've had 2 years in a row now where Mother Nature was part of the festivities, and it just couldn't have been better. Amazing turnout along the waterfront. Young's Park, I will say, I don't think I've ever seen Young's Park as crowded as it was for that event. The new Coppola dock certainly gave us another vantage point. The dock finally being put back together at the end of Royal Palm Point, filled that up. Anna Valencia was there doing her MC live on the air from there for her radio show. And all the way around, I was at an event this past Friday, Harbor Branch event, and there was comments about the Christmas boat parade. So,
Wow.
you know, over a month later, and people were still talking about it. So I think we hit it right yet again.
That's good. That's good. Look forward to next year. All right. Moving on to new business. The annual report. Did everybody read it? Any comments on it?
Thank you. You did it, I take it?
Business as usual. No, I didn't write this.
Did you write it?
Yes.
Oh, well, you did a nice job.
If it sounds pretty smart, read it.
Thank you, Rita. It
You're
looked
welcome.
I just have one question, being the new guy here, and I'm looking at the years that everybody's been here, which is incredible that, you know, so many people have dedicated this, you've all dedicated this long to it. I just wonder, what is the process for moving people through the board? I mean, is it if you comes up, your time's over, and you just can say, I want to do it again, and it doesn't get advertised or anything to the public?
They do get advertised, and when there's openings, typically speaking, though, and the city council does the appointment, and so let's say that somebody's been on there for 20 years and they still want to stay in their term, typically the city council will give that, assuming that they have not had absentee issues and that kind of stuff, and so it's people are reappointed. Now, a lot of folks move away, and so therefore that vacancy, and then we have alternates that will move up to the permanent board position, typically speaking. Now, everything is totally up to the city council, and we have had in some of the other commissions, for example, in finance and utility commissions, several years ago, there was a city council that said they wanted to change, and many of those folks changed on both of those commissions. And again, it's sort of at the discretion of what the city council feels.
Gotcha. All right, thank you. We're just curious.
There are some rules about it too, so many unexcused absences and things like that.
Correct.
Affect your...
Yeah, we all hang in there for the great pay.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if you want me to, I'll bring you up to date on the hiring of a marina manager. We have offered the job to a fellow named Sean Collins. He has over 20 years' experience in maritime and marine work. He presently is employed until the 11th of this month. He's employed with the City of Naples at their Naples dock. A couple of things that stood out to us that we liked. Naples redid their facilities in 2017. He was with them in 16 and was part of that total restoration of their dock facilities. The other thing is he is working for a city, the City of Naples. They own the dock, and that experience we think gives him a little heads up in the fact that he will come to us knowing some of the processes that we in local government have to follow as we go through purchasing and processes and that type of thing. So his background was pretty strong to us. He had worked at a loggerhead, so he had some experience in that concierge upper echelon type of marina experience. But we think his personality and his can-do attitude during the interview will bring that revitalization to us and hopefully carry through some of the issues that we have in the redevelopment. We'll be going to the City Council tomorrow night recommending that we pay off the debt for the marina, which will free up, assuming that the City Council goes with that, the Finance Commission did. We will have some capital then to start reinvesting into the marina. And this fellow seems to be able to get it done, so hopefully that's what he'll bring to us. But Sean Collins is his name.
Do we have a start date for him yet?
To that, be the 11th of February. On the 11th, though, he's got to go through the processes that we go through, and doing all that. So he actually will be at the marina on the 12th, that he'll be feet on the ground.
And did he say why he is coming from Naples to Vero?
The hassle of living down there, he and his wife, they had been to Vero before. They liked it here. They liked the type of atmosphere we had. And he was one of those, and we interviewed 3 folks, but he had done a lot of research on our marina, and he came prepared, which was another outstanding. I will tell you, we had really 3 very, very good applicants that we interviewed, and between Sean and the number 2 person, they were very close, and folks, either one of them would have really worked. So we feel like that, we had competition in the position. But it's my understanding, and based on what he told us, it's just sort of the hassle of that South Florida issue, and he and his wife were ready to sort of come to
Velcro Beach?
Huh?
Come to Velcro Beach?
Velcro Beach, yeah.
Is he a younger guy? Is he raising a family in town? Or?
He is not raising a family, but younger than I am, but he's probably in his late 40s, early 50s, something like that. He had Coast Guard experience, so he's similar, a lot of the background that Tim had with the going through the Coast Guard business as well. So
Sounds like a good fit.
I hope so, and it really is, the overriding thing is his attitude, which was very positive, very upbeat, and a guy that did his homework before he got, and came and did the interview, which was progressive in my opinion, and then he lived through a portion of that redevelopment of the Naples dock, but at the same time he has been there to maintain that revitalization of that dock, and so it's pretty impressive. And we had one of the residents of our community that highly recommended him, said they had been down to Naples, and the guy met the customers and seemed to be very well organized in his operation. Now, he was not the harbor master there. He was really a dock master, so he was not running that marina. This gives him, if you're in the resume building business, this would be a good thing because of the title and all that. But he gave me the impression that Vero Beach was the type of place he and his wife wanted to be. He's from the north, so he definitely doesn't want to go back to the cold weather anymore. So,
Smart guy. I think we're lucky to find somebody for that seamless a transition from one to the next.
Yes, I am hoping that that's what takes place and that we just sort of move through. As you know, that we're short on having a number 2 at the marina, so that transition I think is important. Tim will be there for a few days and make it work.
Tim's last day is the 23rd?
22nd, I think. It's either 22nd or 23rd.
So they'll have a little crossover there?
Yes, they will. That'd be about 10 days. And the other thing that we tried to impress on Sean is we wanted team building and building of succession planning, if at all possible, at the marina. As you know, our number 2 position doesn't pay very much, but at the same time, we'll try to rework that and see how we can get ourselves number 2s for the succession as we go forward.
Do you know if we have anything planned to thank Tim for his years of service, et cetera?
No, I don't. I'm not aware of anything planned, and but
I don't know. Do they typically do that? If you've been in a position for that, he's been in that position for a long time.
Typically, there's something that they do, but if the Marine Commission would like to maybe do something right here in the council chambers, would be fine. I know, for example, when the city attorney left, they had a little thing up in his office, and people would come and go just for 2 or 3 hours, and folks from the county came over as well as friends in the community. So that usually is what it is, sort of a low key. In Tim's case, being sort of removed and out at the marina is a little different.
Actually, we might be able to do something at the marina.
That may not be a bad idea. And at the same time, you would have Sean Collins there and be able to introduce him. Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of town at that time, so I will not be available. But yeah, if you guys want to do it, would be great at the marina.
You'll be on permanent vacation?
Not permanent. I have to come back. So no, we had a cruise planned, and so we're going to be on a cruise, and then I come back for my last week.
Would there be any budget available for what we're talking about?
We can put something together. Somebody can give me a budget and number.
Is there a bad time? I mean, I would personally like to go over there and thank Tim for everything he's done.
And the 22nd may not be bad because that's also his anniversary for his years of service, and it's over 20 years, I believe, isn't it, Rita?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact date.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just one quick suggestion. Something that's really easy to do is you use a Word doc and create a memorial, more or less, that can be scribed onto just a simple plaque. And before it's put on the plaque, members of the city council can sign it, the commission can sign it, everyone can sign it, and then it gets scribed on, and they're really inexpensive, but shows his, his title, his tenure, and the people that appreciated it and allow us to sign it and have it printed out, simply easy to produce and inexpensive. But it's a nice plaque to put on your wall for
How do you all feel?
years of service.
Something like that.
Better than a trophy.
I mean, in the military, they would do that. They'd give you a plaque from the station you're leaving or something, and everybody in the shop would sign the back of it. I'd take that over
Tim would certainly appreciate it, there's no question.
and work through Rita. And
Yeah, this would be done on a piece of paper, and then we'd all be allowed to sign it on the paper, and then they take that paper that's been signed and enter it into their system, and then they scribe it on the metal. So it's got everyone's signature on there, and it's kind of a neat thing, a little more personalized.
We don't have a lot of time, I don't know how long it takes.
No, it's real easy. The hardest part is just creating whatever language you want to put on there and getting the signatures on there, and then you take it over and they scribe it right away. It's real easy.
Because you have like a picture of the Vero Beach Marina out from the front.
You can literally put any kind of, that you're talking about a bigger one now maybe, but there's a lot of things you can do.
would something like that cost? A couple $100?
Oh gosh, no, not even that.
All right.
Maybe 50 to 75.
Would I be able
something
to
like that.
work with you on
Sure you can.
getting this and then run it around to these guys so that they could sign it?
We can meet someplace, have a designated time, and
And do meet with TJ Awards, are really, really good at putting awards together and stuff. And I think
it's really
they would
just a
help some of
document that thanks him, whatever you want to put on it, and then we can all sign it, and then they take that and put it in the computer, and it scribes the metal.
Laser
and-
etches.
Laser etches, yeah.
Or we can have it here if you want to just stop by and sign it.
Sure.
Rather than you running around
Right.
individually meeting
Yeah.
with each person,
That's easy
because
to
that's
And I'll work with you on setting it up to.
the wording,
format
what you want to,
yeah,
what do you want to read, yes.
And see if we can, well, this is a picture of the marina right here.
You can do a lot of, it's going to be usually they're black plaques, and then it's gold underneath or something like that, so you're not going to get color out of it.
No.
But you can get, a sketch of whatever you want to put on.
Or maybe something.
Seal, sure. Perfect, yeah.
All right, I'll work with Reed on that, and then you all get.
Great.
Email or something.
Nice idea.
Good. Thanks, Jim.
Can
Yes,
I make
sir.
a couple of comments on the marina? Is now a good time?
Sure, perfect.
Thank you for the time. Jim has touched on part of this second part. The first part is I did circulate, I think to all of you, a couple of PowerPoint presentations which I had done for council, which is the beginning of a strategic and operating plan for the marina going forward. So, I can answer questions about those now, or if you have any thoughts or questions, please get a hold of me. I'd be happy to provide any further detail on that. I don't know if that's the plan, but it's the only plan on the table right now, so I guess at least it's hopefully helpful for Jim as a beginning, and for the new marina manager, it's just a map as to how to go forward, and I can do some more work on that if that's needed. Secondly, as Jim mentioned, there will be a motion before council tomorrow evening to retire the debt with the marina incurred on purchase of the South Complex and the dry stack. Finance Commission did unanimously pass a motion in favour of that. I don't know, Mr. Chairman, whether this commission would be interested in entertaining, not from me, I can't make a motion, but I think if this commission were also to weigh in favour, I think that would be helpful, Jim, tomorrow.
If that's a proper protocol for this, I would certainly like to make a motion.
It's not up to me, I'm just,
I think that's the
visiting
right way to
fireman,
move. It would take a big
over to you
burden
then.
off the
Not
marina.
to interrupt you, Keith, but I'd like to make a motion to retire that debt.
Okay, second, and present it to the city council.
Correct.
Second, we vote. Yay?
Everybody in?
All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah, aye.
Yay. All right, good.
that's good.
Yeah, very nice, Keith, thank you.
Thank you for all the hard work you've done.
Did I derail what you were going to say there? I didn't mean to interrupt the flow of what you had going there, but I thought we should put that to bed immediately.
Also, to let you know, we've been interviewing some engineering firms, Coastal Tech being one of those, that will help us set out a master plan for the capital projects that will be needed for the marina in anticipation that this debt service will be paid off and that we'll be working through. So we're doing that preliminarily. Monty Falls is heading that effort up, and he and I and a couple of the other engineers sat in and did some question and answer with firms and trying to narrow down what the focus would be and bring a proposal to the City Council for consideration to award a contract. I'm hoping that Sean Collins, as soon as he gets on, he'll have this type of support in order to accomplish some of the goals that we're going to set forward for it.
Good, yeah.
With the marina updates, the weekly updates are great, and it provides a lot of information, but is there do we have like a project management calendar or spreadsheet that's going on so we can kind of see where the certain deadlines or expectations are for some of these smaller projects? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
It makes sense, and no, we do not have that. Okay. We have, to this point, sort of gone on project by project and that's one of the areas we hope to shore up as we go forward.
Gotcha.
I would think with a new harbor master coming in, this would be the time to implement. So it's right out of the gate. There's no changing of old habits. It's, we'd like some kind of timeline, and whether that's reported here at commission meetings every 3 months or forwarded to City Council so it can be commented on in council meetings.
Absolutely.
I think now's the time.
Yeah, when we on a couple of our visits, Marine Commission visits to the marina, he showed us his white porcelain board, and that's basically his plan, which is a huge board that shows this project and this one, this is partially funded, this is with deadlines and so on. So I think that's how he has run it.
Well, I'm thinking the contractor would probably provide this because they're running the project. They're the project manager, and they would show, here's our final deadline, and for each little project, here's the expectations of when they're going to be doing the work and when they're going to be finished it. So when we see stuff like they've installed the toilets, we know whether or not it's moving, the whole project's tracking along with what the expectations are as well. So that's all.
And we never really do know that even in the weekly reports. It's just project update.
Exactly.
But there's no details. Right. Now, who would put that into play when?
Your marina manager will be the one that will set out the timetable and the schedule of what projects are being undertaken at the time.
But who makes Sean aware of us expecting some kind of project?
You all will. He is well aware that there is a Marine Commission, and I would hope that you may have a special called meeting, maybe after he's on the ground and for a couple weeks, and have a Marine Commission where he can come down and you all can get together and sort of set out expectations at that point. So, somewhere in the third or fourth week of February would be a good time to have a Marine Commission meeting to sit down with him.
How about the same day we present that plaque on the 22nd? Why not do it then, instead of having to go twice?
I don't know, does that diminish the send-off to Tim? Like, here's your plaque, now let's have a meeting with the new guy?
Not really. I think it's helpful.
Okay.
In fact, even if Tim was there, that might be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have a special call meeting, formal like this, let them know that we're here to help, and, that's why we're here, so.
Yeah, I think it would be very good. And the department directors, for example, when we hired our planning director, the planning commission had a meeting, he goes down, introduces himself, and they sort of work together as to what the expectation. And then in that particular case, he and the chairman have become pretty tight on expectations, which probably could handle this way. Therefore, you don't have sunshine issues taking place. But I think that having the meeting and introducing himself and you all asking questions to him and let him know what expectations are, I think would be important.
I kind of lean towards a separate meeting.
Same here.
Because it's, Let's look here. How about the last week in February?
Fine for me.
Good for me.
Tuesday the 26th?
Tuesday, the 26th, that's going to be the election day. There's a safety committee meeting here, but it's not till in the afternoon. Or that Monday, the February 25th is fine as well.
Either day works for me.
Yep, either day works for me.
I'd rather do it on the 26th if that's okay.
As far as I can see, that's okay.
What time is the, you said there's a meeting?
Not till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you have it in the morning, you're fine.
9:30 on the 26th then?
Good. And that's with the new guy, Sean.
That will be a special call
Yes.
meeting to meet with the new marina director.
Good.
And the location?
Here in the chambers.
What was the last name? Collins?
Collins,
Is it SH or SE, Sean?
SEAN.
SE.
Good.
Mr. Chairman, just,
Okay.
you might want to give him a call. We'll contact him. About 6
Okay, can I take a picture of it?
Sure.
Probably be the best thing. I forgot my glasses, so.
You describe?
Oh, I did get a response from Tim.
Just don't do it. 10 o'clock, I'm done.
He's busy running the office, and the other fellow is busy with pump outs. He can't make it today. He's up to his ears. He says the restroom is almost finished today, and he'll email an update.
Have an official opening, like there's a gold lady present that.
Yeah, home phone, 561-779. 5754.
Sorry.
All right, thank you. Keith, did you have something?
Yeah, I just want to make one comment. You know, as far as project management is concerned, hopefully there's going to be a lot of projects, and there is talent in the community, particularly Bob Jones, who Jim knows. He's got a lot of experience in project management. We're very happy to help the new manager put a little project review program in place. There are some very simple online programs called PERT, Project Evaluation Review Tracking. So if that's needed, Bob, I'm sure, or I would be helpful to be available to do that. Okay. As you say, Tim's got a whiteboard and things have moved on a little bit since then. Thank you.
It sounds like we're going to have a busy and exciting year.
Have a time and a date for the 22nd?
Oh, no, I didn't. Let's see. And that was over at the marina?
At the marina.
At the marina. What works for you guys for that?
Did you say it's we're going to do it at the marina?
At the marina.
Not here? Okay.
With Tim.
Oh, that's the 22nd one. Okay, that's not the new, okay.
Friday the 22nd.
Gotcha.
Does this time work for everybody? Do a 9:30 or a 10 o'clock?
I'm retired, so I can.
That's good for me.
Rub it in.
Some of you.
9:30?
Yep.
9:30 is fine.
It's good. So now you have a deadline.
Yeah, it's good too, it is.
Yep. Deadlines work.
Okay.
I can help with that too.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to get that name of that place too. Where were we at here? Marina repairs, and I don't have anything personally. Anybody else? Members matters?
Mr. Lanier, did you want to repeat what response you got from Mr. Rainbow?
Sure.
What he wrote to you?
Yes, Tim responded to my text. He said that he's running the office and his helper is busy doing pump outs. The restroom is almost finished today. He will be emailing an update. He says he's sorry that he cannot attend in person.
Just, right, say we understand or something.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know if this is the proper place to say this or bring this up. I was contacted by Arthur Economy via email to start to build, he would like to build some sort of file for the commission and for the public of projects that have been done. And I told him I would try to help him out on that. As far as I've gone in at it, is I've talked to the permit office and they have a nice thick file of projects that's happened since back to the 70s. I was hoping he would be here today so we could kind of hash out what exactly he's looking for out of that. But I suspect he would like me to do some sort of little timeline maybe, or of how the marina has grown over the years. But I guess that's going to come out of the commission, so I don't know how to proceed on that. I guess I would figure out what he wants, put something together, if it's even possible that I can put something together easily, and then bring it to the next commission board and have everybody look at it. Would that work best?
For these projects you're talking about?
From what I understand from his email, is he would like something that shows what has been worked on, what maybe was proposed but didn't happen, which is a part I don't think I can get, and just so that we're not reinventing the wheel every time that there's a new change or a new director or something else comes along, which makes some sense, but I didn't know if...
I think Tim would be the best person to be able to put something like that together, all the years he's been there. I don't know how far back we would need to go to satisfy. I think we should be looking forward more than back, but you're right. If we know what's happened, we don't have to revisit that again if it's been within a reasonable period of time.
Yeah, and I reached out to Tim on that, and he kind of gave me a bullet list of projects he's worked on over the last 20 years, but it wasn't very in-depth or concise. So it's, like I said, I was hoping Arthur was going to be here today so I could kind of get a better idea. I know that there is information here at City Hall that might give him the idea of what he wants. I mean, there's a nice thick file and plans and all sorts of stuff. So that may be what he wants, but...
Was there, and to that, I think, was there anything else discussed with the parking issue and those trailers and the camper over on the east lot over there, and how we're going to police that and control that? If we've got residents who are dissatisfied with derelict trailers and that camper, how do we control that moving ahead? I mean, that will be part of Sean's new task, I would imagine. Absolutely,
and build that connection with the police department for those that are not there. They can do the citations on it. They just have to be made aware of who is authorized and who's not. And I think the camper moved a few spaces or something the last time I was there, so we've obviously got to roll that one down and get it taken care of. But the police department would be the ultimate citation on the properties. But they have to be made aware that the marine director didn't give them permission to be there, so that's the issue.
I don't think there's ever really been any kind of check-in if somebody's leaving on their boat and they want to leave a vehicle in the parking lot. I don't know that they ever check in with Tim, and he gives them a little piece of paper in the windshield, authorized parking as per city marina.
Yeah, I think most of the rules and regulations have been, dependent on what day of the week it is or something, because when you try to schedule it down, and again, that's something that will be bringing structure. There's going to be pushback to that. There's a lot of folks that have used our marina quite often and sort of used to that flexibility, but one of the things that we have found, and in research on the Naples, when they redid theirs, there were new rules, regulations, and pretty enforced as to how they operate. So that's more than likely what will be coming to our marina.
Well, there might be some pushback, but you'll also get others that feel finally we've got some structure here and this is a good thing.
That's very true. Yeah, there's both sides of that coin. There's no question about that.
With everything that's going on with the marina now, council, us, you know, and the changeover, director and all that stuff, I mean, people should understand that things are going to change. That's why we're doing all this, you know, so we can improve.
It's that handful of folks that don't get the word. So it's, you know, it's like the liveaboard guy that takes the food from behind the judge's stand. You're always going to have some folks like that. And I think we have a little collection every so often of people who gather under their trees and, you know, that we have to sort of work with.
Yeah. I think it'd be good for Sean to know that the parking lot is a shared parking lot with the Vero Beach Yacht Club.
Right.
So there are days when they have big functions, which it gets completely filled up. So he needs to be aware of that also. And
Well,
should be a liaison between the yacht club too.
Yeah, and when we interviewed Sean, we told him about that parking relationship. Tim had a very good working relationship with the yacht club, and
Yes, he did.
I think they gave him an honorary where he could go have lunch or something. And that way they kept the communication line pretty well open, and hopefully that's the same way that Sean will carry on as well. Because we told him that there was a lot, and being a city facility, there's a lot of things that you have to, you know, concede on because we are open to the public, and the public has different whims about what they want to do. So it's and who hangs around there and that kind of stuff. You got to be able to figure out a mechanism to work through those issues. But the parking is one of those that, and I think up to this point we've done fairly well, even on those crowded yacht days that they do. And they seem to be having more and more of those, from what I understand, that opening for lunches and that kind of stuff that we work with.
Keith?
Yeah, I've already spoken to the Commodore of the Yacht Club, and I think we'll be extending the same courtesies to the new manager that we extended to Tim in terms of whatever privileges he had at the club. I'm sure that will be extended to the new guy.
Could I make a suggestion for our special call meeting? Maybe collectively, we have our bullet point list of things we either have questions of Sean or recommendations to Sean. I know it's more of a meet and greet type of meeting, but at the same time, I think that's a good way to get off on the right foot, to help him come up to speed.
What our expectations are.
I think that's an excellent position, because he's going to be going through a transition with me retiring as well, and who comes in as city manager. And so, you know, somewhere you guys, I think, will be the sounding ground for him for a while to make it work. So
I think if we, whether collectively, individually, and send it to Rita, maybe, and that becomes our agenda, so to speak, for that meeting, things we'd like to talk about. Because you brainstorm and we've got a lot of good ideas and think of things, or reminded of things now, but will we remember all those things when we actually sit down to chat with them?
Yeah, that's fine. If you want to put together your own topics that you want to discuss, and we can, a lot of them probably will be the same from each of you, but
Yeah.
that's fine, and we'll just make it a list.
Send you the
And
bullets and you can just put them all together.
And just when you guys meet with him, something he put in his resume, I think it needs to be pounded home as much as possible. He says he has the proven ability to follow projects through to completion. And as long as he understands that's one of the major expectations, I think it's important. But we do have that in his handwriting too. So.
Thank you, Jim.
Actually, I have one little item, and maybe Jim can help with that. I visited Royal Palm Point a couple of times recently, and noticed the beautiful work they did on refurbishing the docks and so on. Looked really good. Do they plan to put railings around the final part out there?
Not around the final part. That's where the boat comes in. We have the railings, and we redid those railings again in order to keep children from falling off, but we have the gate that you have to go through before you go out. But that was designed to be that way where the boats could pull up and not have the gates out there.
I hope they keep the kids off.
Yeah. No matter what you do, though, there's going to be a challenge to what they do. We've been very fortunate. There's been very few people jump in there and start swimming, which, typically speaking, especially when you have the fountain right up above it, typically you would think they would just go jump in. But to my knowledge, we have not had any real incidences of that. Of course, it's so shallow in there, too, that it's, and then once you jump in and you sink up to your knees in the muck, I don't think you'll jump in twice.
Well, unfortunately, we do not have a good reputation for our swimming water.
Yeah.
Saw the news report today, right?
No, I didn't.
St. Lucie, certain areas, St. Lucie County, St. Lucie River are now shut down because of algae bloom and bacteria. And they feel it's either from raw sewage or from excessive pump out. That was this morning. So I attended a meeting, event this past Friday night for Harbor Branch, and former Senator Joe Negron spoke, and there was a lot of talk about water quality and how we were pretty fortunate in Indian River County not to be affected like they are from the St. Lucie River and the Loxahatchee and the plans to move ahead for the reservoir south of Lake Okeechobee. And everybody kept saying, we're lucky, and but we did have red tide, not necessarily affected by blue-green algae bloom or a black water situation, but still something that needs to be on our radar all the time, especially when you read reports where 25 miles away they're recommending not to go in the water.
The latest report on our beaches, just so everybody understands, number one, we only have one stormwater discharge, and that's at Sexton Plaza. We don't have one. The Humison is an overflow, and you'd have to have 11 inches or so of rain. We have no discharge on South Beach. So the bacteria that was there, and I talked to the health department a couple of times, and one guy, Mr. Moore, summed it up, I thought, pretty good. He said, from time to time, it is an ocean, and there is going to be bacteria. He says there's stuff that, dies, and if it's close to the shore and you happen to take that sample right then, you're going to find bacteria. And so it's one of those things that we just have to be aware of what the issues are. And in our particular case, the 7.5 years I've been here, we have not had a closing of the beach until this time. And there was a discharge that did come out of the stormwater at Sexton that day, and when they took the samples. But it was ironic, you had lower readings at Sexton Plaza than you did at South Beach that has no charge or no discharge. And so if you try to follow what it was, because I think it was 111, 99, and then a higher or lower number at a higher number at South Beach. So the key there is that we don't know what is the bacteria that is causing it. The lagoon is a little different because it's an enclosed, and you start having sewage pumping there. And by the way, we're a no discharge plant. We have no wastewater that leaves our wastewater treatment plant. It is all reuse water and goes on golf courses for irrigation. Now, we do have the folks that have concern that we have a lot of nitrogen in that, and so therefore when you go into the golf course and it rains, it could go into the water bodies, which is true. But hopefully, and some of the conversations we've had with golf course operators, they're using our reuse water and cutting down on their cost of fertilizers because they're getting the nitrogen fix they need for their grasses, so therefore that there's less runoff. But all that being said, the ocean issue is one of those that's nobody knows where it comes from, what it does, and I guess it would take a lot more research. But again, the lagoon being an enclosed body, except for the inlets, you obviously have discharges there that are pretty large. We have a lot of inlets or stormwater, but I mean they flow all the way from the west, from the I-95 and out that way, and come through for discharge. So you can have major discharges there.
Okay.
again, every little bit helps, though. I mean, our step system, we've taken over 300 houses off the lagoon into the septic tank business, so that's sort of a positive step, too.
Do we have any recent reports on the water quality of the river?
I have not seen any. It's my understanding, though, that Orca is still taking those samples. Now, we did it in the small catch when we had the sewer leak, and the water quality actually is better today than it was before that. But we have our aeration pumps in place that are taking that, and there's continued monitoring in that area for any solids that may have gotten in and settled in the bottom, but that aeration is supposedly stirring that up and release any organics that are involved in that. But that's a relatively small location, because that was where the discharge was.
Is that over by Bethel Creek?
By Bethel Creek,
I was more curious about the area where the Youth Sailing Foundation sails south of the 17th Street Bridge. Is there any testing that is done for that area?
Not that I'm aware of. We don't do any testing there because we have no discharge coming from that facility. Now, we did do some testing when the power plant was in operation years ago to see if there was any environmental leaching from the ground. We were required to do that, and nothing was indicated at that point, but it really wasn't water samples per se. Looking for bacteria, we were really looking for petroleum and anything that would come off of that site.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anybody?
I got a quick one just regarding projects, and I ended up introducing a young man to Tim, and he accomplished his Eagle project over at the marina. Great facility for scouting. These kids all got to get their Eagle projects, and it's nice to get free. So what they did for his project, they rebuilt the kayak racks that were just disintegrated, and brought in new wood, all at the project's expense, not the marina's expense. So did a good thing, raised money to do it, and stirred it up and rebuilt a lot of those kayak racks, which turned out to be a really nice job. And the kid's getting his Eagle Award in about a week and a half.
What racks were they? There's some on the north and some on the south.
So north side, there's a lot of them on the north side.
Yeah.
And a lot of boats that looks like they've been there for 15 years and never even moved. And some of these just need to have their cables cut and removed and gotten rid of. But there's probably 10 racks over there, eight racks maybe. I don't know, there's a lot of racks. And a lot of boats, they're all full. And they put in some, 120, 150 man hours getting that done. And turned out great.
Awesome.
And there's plenty of other opportunities, for these kids to do Eagle projects over there. And it's not just kids doing the work. You got a lot of adults, supervising and a lot of heavy equipment and tools and equipment. And so anyway, that went really well, and there's plenty of opportunity for more that comes along.
Good. Well, if there's nothing else, let's work on a date for our official meeting 3 months from today. Thank you.
I like to stumble over the
April?
May.
May. Oh, I'm sorry.
May 6th.
How about May
13th.
Yeah, first Monday's the 6th.
6th?
How about, early May would be good for me.
Yeah, you get ready to head out of town, don't you?
Well, mid-May.
You snowbird, you.
I need mid-May. 6 would be great, you sure, for me.
Anybody have a problem with the 6th?
9:30? It's good.
9:30. How about Rita?
Sounds good. I have nothing on that date.
Oh, good.
Awesome.
location? Here?
He'll be here at the council chambers. Did you want to make a motion on that report at all or any changes to it?
You mean,
The annual report before I submit it to city council? Did anybody have any changes or corrections or?
Nope.
Okay. We started the conversation and it kind of went away. I didn't know if anybody else had any comments on it.
I think it's a good, very basic report, and I think it's once again, with a change of command over there, this is a good place to start. You know, this is, we work from here. I think the next report might be a little more detailed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion to accept the report, to pass it along to the council.
Second.
and I remind everybody to send your bullets to Rita. And then I'll work with her at getting a black belt.
Okay, great.
All right.
Move we adjourn.
I'll second that.